All right, 28th of July 2025, Crazy Market Talk with KEL, Crazy, where logic meets profit. All right, so today we're going to have a lot of sharing, and more importantly, disclaimer apply as usual, do your risk management. And of course, at the same time, later on, we'll review what happened on last Friday Go and how can you use the strategy of Crazy to make money from the market. So this is very, very important. All right, so let's go to the macro picture first, right? Macro. All right, the S&P 500 basically posted the fifth straight record close this week and powered by the solid earnings. Now, I don't think the word powered is actually correct because the earnings are just better than expected. But because everybody have revised the number lower, so it seems to be better. But again, I will leave it there for you to make your own decision. But very importantly, we can see right now the S&P is at record high, Nasdaq also at record high. Only the Dow Jones is not, but as of this morning, because of the CFD trading, we are just about 50 points away from the record high this morning. And as a matter of fact, the reason is because of the EU. We'll come to that later. And the thing is, right now, everybody is showing their results, and we do know that Alphabet came in better than expected. Verizon also did the same thing. And after that itself, right, very importantly, more than 82% of the 169 S&P companies have reported to date and they have beaten the Wall Street expectation. So that is why the market is now having this bull rally. But on top of that, this bull rally, we also know that Donald Trump wants to announce a very big trade with EU, which I'll cover that very shortly. And of course, we also know that now 1st of August tariff is coming in, and there's still a few more countries that still have not come back to US, especially the big ones, yeah. So all I can say is this right now, it will be a very busy week this week because more than 150 companies will be giving their quarterly result. And of course, we know that Meta and Apple will be doing that. Now, Meta should be doing well, but Apple may not be. So that will be a very interesting split between both of them. And very importantly, this week we have the Federal Reserve meeting up, and of course, they're expected to keep the rate same for this time round. So this morning, what we have a jump in the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the Dow Jones is because Donald Trump over the weekend announced the EU trade deal with 15% tariff. All right, this is very interesting because previously the US president has threatened with 30% and that shook the market and now become 15%. So again, the same strategy is being used on Japan, the same strategy used on Vietnam, same strategy used on many countries that they go for a big number and then they negotiate to a lower number. And obviously, it's so when they do that, they get the upper hand. So this is how it seems to be how a big country or a big businessman do deals with people. And of course, he's using his business sense to do it. And from there itself, look at it, they shake hands. So this is how things are being done. Now, one thing to note, we all know that Thailand and Cambodia has got into a bit of firing at the border, and apparently Donald Trump stepped in. And of course, now the thing is this supposed to end, but the clashes at the border continue. I have friends in Cambodia. I asked them how's it ongoing right now. They felt that a lot of fake news is going on. They felt that a lot of things are misunderstood. And end of the day is right. They felt that the killing was not really you know not really worth it. 34 people were killed and more than 168,000 people was displaced. So Donald Trump said that he will not continue the trade agreement if the both countries stay hostile to each other, yeah. And he said that should agree to come to a ceasefire. So of course, we all know that Cambodia Prime Minister Hun Manat says that is to immediate and unconditional ceasefire. So all these are on the side, but actually, to me itself, is more of a misunderstanding that caused the whole thing. All right, then we all know that Netflix continue to have there's a media trailblazer. Tom Rogers changes Reggie Bull's stance on what Netflix says that now there's some worrisome. So this guy, he's actually a NBC cable president. Tom Rogers is dialing back his bullishness on Netflix. He feels that the Netflix now the share price is a bit too high, and he thinks that around some of the thing that Netflix is showing doesn't have the same type of quality as compared to the past. Now, Tesla are growing worried. Now, Tesla investors are getting worried about Elon Musk's futuristic promises. They felt that now the earnings itself have been sliding, the share price have been coming down, and the thing is there's still a lot of question mark on his future promises, right? We all know that this Elon Musk have 9 companies, and he promised a lot of things could happen in the near term, but we all do know that it's not really coming as along the expectation. So because of that, the most important, the robo-taxi service have been on talking and talking for quite a while. It doesn't really manifest. And because of that itself, the share price have plunged. And the thing is this, entire EV makers, they also suffered some losses because of Donald Trump not looking to support the EV sector. So all these things basically gave a lot of heartache to this Elon Musk recently. And of course, gold price right now, we know that gold price slightly below 3340 because of the tension that is in the trade war has had to cease. And since EU and this US have going to have a 15% strike accord, that's why gold this morning gapped down. Yeah. Now, one thing to note is that this is the Fed rate probability. Now we can see from here as well, is from CMEgroup.com. 97.9% of the people who survey is expecting the rate to stay firm. So there'll be no changes now because you can see the current number now is 4.25 to 4.5, while this coming 30th of July, the 97.9% are still also looking at 42.5, 4.25 to 4.5, meaning the rate stay. Only 2.1% expect a rate cut. And usually when it hit 90% and above, the probability to happen is very high. Now, I think Jerome Powell will not do anything this time around, but he will likely inform people that, that next one, the next cut will be there. But after he cut, the next one will be in the September period, yeah? And that's about 45, 46 days later. And you can see there's a very strong verdict that right there will be a rate cut by the September 2025. So that means that the market should likely be pulling back, soften a little bit before it will rally again. That's usually how I see it when there is a potential cut in the near term, but during the period of time, things will usually do a V shape, a down first and an up first later on. All right, guys, those will be the macro picture for today, and you can see that I do cover a lot of macro picture. Let's go to the charts right now. That's you're more concerned for. All right, this morning we have the gold basically open lower. It closed last Friday at the price of 3336. This morning opened at 3318, so it was like $18 lower. But once it opens, if you follow the OP rule and buy above OP, you will be making money as of this morning. Now, this morning I also went in to buy despite the condition was bad. The KSI was red, the KCX was blue, so I bought a very small position when it traded above OP. And when it goes up itself from the opening price of 3318, the nearest resistance you can see is actually the pivot one at 3336, and that's why the price stopped here as well. So it's very simple to trade. You just buy at 3319 and you hold all the way to 3336. That is for day chart macro picture. Yeah. Now, one thing is holding the market now is definitely the MA. MA30 is at 3347. The MLP for today is 3352. So these two are basically blocking the price. So unless the market can cross 3336 with a pivot one, if not, I think this is a good price for people to take some profit for those who bought this morning. Now, if the market can break past 3336, then of course the market will be searching for this guy, which is the MA30 at 3347. All right, so do take note of that. Now, one thing to note, I didn't cover last week. You notice that there is a 4 diamond here, right? Now, the 4 diamond from the chart right to left, this is the first guy, this is the second guy. So we always choose the first one from the right to left. So this is going to be very important. So what we need to do is to put the horizontal line at the closing price. The closing price of this guy is 3357, and that's where we are. And you can see that very clearly when the market basically goes above the white line, when the boys are buying and the boys are retail are buying, the market goes up, right? So pretty cool. But when it came back down, once it breaks below the line, coming with CCYR, you do not need to ask me. Once it go below the line, just short the market. And of course, if you've done it this morning, you will have profited. But because of this morning, once it gapped down, it actually recovers above OP because that showed that the boys are looking to buy. And you can see now the boys are fighting in to buy again. So the market is now really, really in a very tight zone. So for me itself, if the gold can go past 3336, I think to go up to 3347, it should be very, very easy. All right. So that's how I see for gold as of this morning. All right, let's look at the US Dow Jones. The US Dow Jones this morning gapped up at 45104. Now, the highest point, the historical high, is 45140. Okay, so basically, it's like 40 points away from the all-time high. Now, one thing to note that this morning, after the Dow opened at 45,104, it started to trade slightly below the opening price. Now, it's basically hovering at this pivot one at 45,073. So in short, if the market now is pivot one is here, the goal, I mean the index opens higher and then trades down by right. If it's below the white line and the bar is red, you can actually sell. But if you want to wait for it to rebound and then go up, right, then this is where you buy. Okay. So when you do that, right, you can do it in bigger size because you are part of this entire fleet. You can buy more. Okay. So a bit different here. So guys, for those who are trading with a pivot, please know how to trade it well. Yeah. All right, so now the thing is this is trying itself to stay around the pivot one, and the pivot two is very near at 44,914. So which means that if the market do come down, it will go down to here first before going down to the next number, and that is at 44,746. With the KSI green and the KCX black itself, it's going to be very difficult for the Dow to come down too much unless there's something that went very wrong in terms of earnings or something calamity or wars. All right. So that's how I see it for the Dow Jones. The next market I want to cover, it will be on the Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin, as you can see, we have a very strong buy recently when the market has a four diamond. You put it there itself, and wow, this is where the market shoot up all the way nicely, right? Okay, the thing is this, the last 6, 7 days, the KSI has been green, sorry. So by right, we should have an upside here. By right, yeah? So something is wrong. Then suddenly today, where the market is slightly higher due to the news, the KSI actually turns red, and this is not a good sign. So all I can say is this, as long as the market stays above the opening price of 118,741, the Bitcoin will still go up. But if Bitcoin pulls below the opening price, then I think Bitcoin may be going for the 116,776 Bitcoin target. So I already said my point here itself is that the market has been sideways for many, many days. Even the big boys came in, it didn't elevate the market up. And now when the price is not moving much, you can see the KSI returns to red. So for today, if you're buying Bitcoin, buy small. If you want to buy short the Bitcoin, make sure it's below OP, you can sell big. That's my personal verdict. Now, overall, the longer term, I'm still uh, looking for the upside, and I still believe that the next target itself will still be 130,000. Okay, so please look out for this in the near term. It's not going to be like next year. I think by within this year, we'll see 130,000 for the Bitcoin. All right, the next market that we're looking at right now will be the currency market, pound. Okay, hold on a minute. The data coming in. This is pound. Okay, so you can see that this is how pound's trading right now. The nearest candle on my right is this guy here. So I leave a candle here. So same thing again, this is what I've been telling you guys about how incredible is our trading. Look at it. When the price comes down, the indicators stay down. Understand? But why did the market goes up and the indicators still stay down? This is why I say we have a very unique system. During the presentation to all of you, I said if the market is going up, but the KSI is staying red, there's only two outcomes. One, this whole thing is a gamble and it doesn't make sense. The other thing is that because the players are now looking at the US dollar to continue to strengthen because of the good earnings. So you can see right now, if you clear the screen up a little bit, this is the diamond, and you can draw the line over there. The market shoots up fair, but once it breaks below the line, color change from yellow to red, immediately we can take position by cutting in to sell. So you can see when the market was going up, right, you can see a lot of people will be buying, but you look at it, the KSI retained red in color, and we learned in the class before, when the price goes up, the KSI stays red. Once the market breaks down, they'll always be going to where they start. All right, so where did they start? Let me take a look right now. Okay, hold on. All right, somewhere around here, 1.3417, that'll be the first support. If I really have to force it in, then maybe we can have a bit more, and that will be somewhere around here at 1.3372. Right, so if the pounds go down, 1.3372 would be the ideal time for you to buy back your position, yeah? 3372. All right, guys, that will be all for this morning market talk session. We'll take a 1 minute break. We'll come back here again. We'll talk about gold and what happened to last Friday's gold. Okay, so let's take a short 1 minute break. Thank you.